I just want you to know. Today I'll try just a little more for you. Lord, I give this day to you. I'll smile my best, I'll try today for you. 'Cause I love you so. I just want you to know that everything I do today, I do for you. I'll be kind for you. I'll love blind for you. I'll throw my heart open wide and invite everyone inside. I'll see no wrong for you, and I'll be so strong for you. I refuse to think of myself, put my own needs away high on a shelf. I'll fill this day with things I know you like to see. 'Cause today, Lord, is for you, not for me. Lord, I give this day to you. I'll walk in joy and humble gratitude. 'Cause I love you so. I just want you to know. I'll try so hard to live today for you. Lord, I give this day to you. A prayer repeating in my heart for you. 'Cause I love you so. I just want you to know. Today I'll offer everything to you. Today I'll fill my every thought with you. 'Cause I love you so. I just want you to know. With all my heart I give this day to you. I'll be kind for you. I'll love blind for you. I'll throw my heart open wide and invite everyone inside. I'll see no wrong for you, and I'll be so strong for you. I refuse to think of myself, put my own needs away high on a shelf. I'll fill this day with things I know you like to see. 'Cause today, Lord, is is for you, not for me. 'Cause I love you so, Lord, I just want you to know. With all my heart, I give this day to you.
Om Shri Guru Sharanagato. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone who's watching online, and good morning, everyone in the living room, and each of you here today on this beautiful, perfect New England day. We just heard Brother Balaram singing really the perfect treatise on the spiritual life, so I'll just say goodbye. There's really nothing more to say, is there? It's like everything that I would be saying is an elaboration of the simplicity of just living and enjoying life and feeling connected with the divine in the simplest and most unelaborate way possible. It's not rocket science. It's not high-blown philosophy. It's a simple relationship of love. And I think one of the important points to remember from this song is that we really live one day at a time. We're born anew every morning. When we close our eyes at nighttime and fall into deep, deep sleep, we are connected with the divine. We're not connected with this earth or our relationships or our concerns or our worries or what's going on in the world. We're in a whole different consciousness. And then we start again in the morning, brand new. And I've shared this story with you a couple of times because it's important. It was a big lesson to me. And that is, I have been a teacher all of my life, a school teacher. And you know, there are days when the kids are just impossible. And you feel like I see some of you who are teachers that know. And everything that's worked successfully before, and all the goodwill you've built, and all of everything working smoothly, all of a sudden everything fails. And you feel like a total failure as a teacher, and you just feel awful at the end of the day. And it's like the stars and the planets are against you, and the kids are impossible. And so you carry it over as an adult to the next day. There's a certain anxiety and even a dread sometimes about what's it going to be like today? Is it going to be the same as yesterday? And the wonderful thing about children, or older children, or even junior high children and middle school children, is that they usually don't carry things over to the next day. So I, as an adult, grown up, didn't sleep very well that night, and I was dreading the next morning, and everything was brand new and shiny. It was as if yesterday hadn't happened. So what a waste of my time and energy and adrenaline, or whatever you have for depression, kind of chemicals that are floating through your body, was useless. And that's why Christ said to be like a child, to be able to be fresh and to meet each moment fresh, without dragging the past with us always. Because as an ancient Greek or Roman philosopher said, we step into a river, we put our toe in, but it's never the same river. We may have put in our toe yesterday, and we may have put in our toe 5 minutes ago, but that water has long gone. And so spiritual life is so simple. It's just so simple. And that is that we're born in the morning, we live our day according to our highest lights, with that aspiration to live it with the best that we know as of that particular time in our consciousness. We do the best we can, with an honest effort. And then at the end of the day, when we close our eyes, we offer that day back to the Lord, and we take our rest. And when we enter deep sleep, then we enter another state of consciousness, and we're refilled not only physically and mentally, but we're refreshed spiritually. So it is like we lead different lives each day. And then if we recognize that from the teaching that we have from Vedanta and Christianity and all the world traditions, really, is that God is one. Vedanta teaches that Brahman is all there is. Brahman is the Sanskrit name for the divine. So God is all that exists. Everything is saturated with the divine. And everything is saturated with consciousness in one degree or another. So you have a different appreciation and respect for objects. Mataji always taught that we need to have respect for all of the things that serve us. We throw the fork into the drawer with not a thought or respect for it. Holy Mother used the example of a broom. One of her companions was sweeping the courtyard with a broom and then threw the broom into the corner. And she said, Holy Mother said, everything has consciousness. So you don't just throw something that's just served us. So it's a different attitude toward things. Mataji carried it to an extreme, I think, but you understand it if you understand her consciousness. And that is that her medicine cabinet, each thing in the medicine cabinet had to have its space. And she would say to us, do you want to be all crowded up in a big bunch? When she did flowers. Because flowers have consciousness. So each must have its space. And she said, give a little attention to things each day. Notice them. We just go through life and we don't pay any attention to so many things. It's a simple thing. It's kind of a childlike thing. But in fact, it is truth. So if you think, if you maybe haven't had the experience yet to realize that everything has some degree of consciousness, so you don't treat it roughly, you respect its isness, you respect and are conscious of the fact mentally anyway that everything is saturated with the divine. So if we begin the day with that consciousness, we begin the day as like this lovely sister Macrina, I think her name was, who said, instead of just taking the day, but to change the attitude, I am receiving this day. This morning, thank you for this day. I am receiving this day. Or as it is in the Hebrew Bible, this is the day the Lord hath made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is a special, blessed, sacred day. And therefore it's just crammed with potentials, crammed with every type of blessing if our headspace is there to receive it. But most of the time we're living in our heads, closed off to all these many blessings, because our mind is on the future, our mind is in the past, our mind is in the future about things that we're nervous and anxious about that never take place, mostly. And if we're living in the past, sometimes, you know, there are lovely memories to remember from the past, and these are lovely things. But if we're living in the past of grievances and resentments, it's futile. Maharaji said one of the most futile emotions we can ever have is guilt. Carrying around guilt. If we are carrying around guilt, yes, we should make restitution if we are able to. We should certainly, you know, wake up and fly right if we have participated in something that caused injury to someone else or something else. Then the best thing we can do is change ourselves, transform ourselves, and then try to make restitution with that person that we have harmed in some way, whether consciously or unconsciously. And then it's so easy. We recognize this is a sacred day. We have a relationship with the divine. Each one has a one-on-one relationship with the divine. Each of us has a different and unique relationship with the divine. Each of us is being watched over and guided and cared for by the divine and loved by the divine. I have come to realize, and I know many of you have, there's no such thing as coincidence. That so many things happen in our lives and we say, wow, what a coincidence. But it wasn't a coincidence, it was a divine guidance. Something inside of us urged us to be in that place at that time for that to happen, for that meeting to take place, that whatever it was, that revelation to take place, that forward motion in our lives, in our career, or whatever it is. Because there is a guiding hand, there is a guiding wisdom. And so often we're like the cable cars in San Francisco, we don't make our connection. Or it's one of those on again, off again connections where the current isn't flowing steadily, and how we make that current flow steadily is to connect through meditation. And we say, well, there are 100 million books on meditation, and there are 100 million techniques of meditation. And there are billions of us, and we're all unique with different backgrounds, so no one size fits all. And one particular method of meditation may work great for us for now, but then we may outgrow it. And then we move smoothly to another form of meditation. But all meditation is to be able to make that connection, to just simply place ourselves in the presence of the divine and go forward. And during that time that we're making that connection, we just sit quietly in the presence of one who loves us. We don't have to do anything except keep the channel open. Just for that time being. Just to lay aside our concerns and our worries and our agenda for the day and our plans for the day and what we think of ourselves and what we think of other people and what we think is going on in the world that's right or wrong or whatever. Whatever our fears are, our anxieties, our excitements, all of it. Just quiet for, be still and know that I am God. Just quiet. Just feeling the presence. You know, when I close my eyes right now, I don't have to do anything to feel your presence. It's very powerful to me. I can feel you. So I don't have to have any concept I don't have to visualize you, try to memorize what you look like, because I can feel you. I just close my eyes and there you are. And I don't have to do anything. I just rest my mind for a while. And then prayer. It doesn't require a prayer book. It's just talking to God. It's just talking to the divine, talking to the presence that truly is with us. All spiritual traditions affirm that. Over millennia. I keep pointing to those, and you look around, what am I pointing at? That. All of these stained glass windows represent different major religious traditions. And so all of those traditions, including the indigenous ones, the very first when human beings were on this earth. So we just talk to the divine in whatever language comes easily to us, you know? It doesn't have to be formal, grammatical type of language, you know? We just speak as we would to someone who's close to us. And we don't have to pretend. We can be our authentic selves. And if we're feeling particularly ugly about someone else on this particular conversation, we admit it. I'm being a real jerk here, and I know it, and it feels really good. But let me express it to you rather than to the person, because I know that you will help me to see truth. It says here, truth or God is one. It says men call it by different names, but human beings call truth with a capital T, call God by many different names. We're dealing with one essence. And of course we know that in different countries, different religions, different ethnicities, this higher power, this divine being is called by many different names. The name doesn't matter so much as for us to understand the concept that God is one and that we all worship the divine in our own way, according to our comprehension at the time. But it also is, truth is one. And one of the important things about meditation, you see, is that we sometimes don't know the truth about a lot of things. We really don't know what's really going on because we see through our individual glasses. We see through our own individual perceptions. And they may be way, way off in some respects. There's a wonderful quotation by an Italian philosopher, 20th century Italian philosopher named Antonio Gramsci. And he said, "It is useful," I'm quoting him, "it is useful to know thyself as a product of the historical process to date, which has deposited in you an infinity of traces without leaving an inventory." I'll say that again. It is useful to know yourself. You know, Socrates said, know thyself. It's useful to know yourself as a product. We are the end result to this moment of all of the experiences we've had, of all the things that we've learned, of all the interactions we've had, which has, and not just from this life only, but from many previous lifetimes, according to Vedanta. But even if you don't believe in reincarnation, all of the impressions and all of the experiences and all of the interactions and everything that's happened to us physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, we are the product of that. We are the result of that. The one that's sitting here right this minute is the end result of that to this date, to this moment. And all of those impressions have left a trace in us. but we don't have an inventory. It's all in there, but how do we access it? How do we make sense of it? Vedanta teaches us, Vedanta and many traditions, Buddhism and Hinduism and many have believed over the years that we have lived more than one life, that it is not possible for us to experience all the things we need to learn all the things we need to learn mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually in one lifetime, especially given the limited scope of our particular lifetime, this lifetime. We're born in a certain kind of a narrow little category. Whatever our gender is, we experience life in a certain way. Whether we're rich or we're absolutely bereft in poverty, whether we're living in Tigray in Ethiopia or inner city Baltimore, or, untold wealth, that we have not one but 2 mega yachts, one for the East Coast, one for the West Coast. Whether we have certain skills and talents, these weren't learned in just one lifetime. So we are the sum total at this moment of everything we've learned and every skill and talent we've developed. But it's not an end point, it's a beginning point, because we continue to learn more. As Sri Ramakrishna said, every single day if I don't learn something new, then I consider it a wasted day. So when I go back to truth in meditation, I realize how important truth is. That we see things according to our filters that are built over time through our experiences and by what we've been exposed to. So they may be highly accurate or highly distorted, or parts may be highly accurate and parts may be highly distorted. So don't we want to know the truth? Don't we want to be able to see clearly? And so meditation, placing ourselves in the presence of truth, placing ourselves in the presence of light, placing ourselves in the presence of wisdom, placing ourselves in the presence of love, infinite love that wishes our highest good and greatest happiness. This is what meditation does to help us. So we want it to just do its thing. We want it to just work on us without knowing what the outcome is going to be, because it's going to be gradual. But it happens. Because it's like a laser maybe. It just is able to cut through sediment. And meditation moves things in us that have become concretized. Old habits that may have worked for us at a certain time in our life, or maybe never worked in this lifetime, but still they're in there because they are subconscious. We've developed them over time. And they may be hindering us now. And they may not be reachable with counseling, but they can be reached by divine light. They go so deep in us. And so there's nothing we have to do except, as I forgot who it was, what it said, Einstein or Schweitzer on his deathbed said, light, more light, always more light. To allow this light, as we just sit there in the presence, the simple presence, just simple sitting, allows this to to move what is immovable, it seems. Because it's unconscious, subconscious, or on the conscious level, but we're attached to it in some way. We like the fact that I'm an angry person and don't mess with me. You know, which may not be the most skillful way to live in this world or gain much, you know, much in friendly relations. So it's not skillful anymore. It's not working for us anymore. So just simply sitting in the presence does so much for us. It affirms our connection and relationship with the divine. It allows the divine to work in us on levels of which we're not even aware. Things that seem stuck, that we're not even aware of, are able to move. Space comes in. It opens up things. It moves things inside of us that we're not aware of. And sometimes they bubble to the surface and they may not be attractive. You know, we may say, my gosh, ever since I started this spiritual life, I have gone backward. I'm not the same nice person who is always smiling. There's something in me that is more turbulent, because stuff is coming up from the bottom, and it's like stuff at the bottom of a pond, you know? But gradually truth prevails. Gradually light prevails. Gradually love prevails. And we have this simple relationship with the divine in which we express our fears and angers and aspirations. Not once for all, but throughout the day. And then in this lifetime that we live in one day, we become much more aware and grateful for the many blessings we have. Because we're so aware of our own shortcomings. And we may want to bury those or repress those. But we ask for light, so we get to see more. That's okay. We can also say, you know, I can see that I'm very impatient. Or I can see that now that I'm a very anxious person. It seems that everything I do is connected with fear and anxiety in some way. I'm afraid of losing control or something like that, as if we thought we ever had any. But we can say, from moment to moment, thank you for this. Or I so appreciate that. What a blessing to have running water that also has hot water, and I don't have to carry it for 8 miles on my head. Or I don't have to be like in Jackson, that I have to boil my water for weeks. Just this back and forth gratitude and appreciation just does something for us so hugely. And then when we feel, you know, sometimes we feel overwhelmed with anger or anxiety or depression or feeling of emptiness or a feeling of fear or unrest, especially when we look around in the world and we see so much suffering and so much hostility and violence, and sometimes we look around and it looks like, how can this ever be fixed? We see so much discord, so much lack of truthfulness, so much greed. I mean, we don't need the third mega yacht, do we really? No, there's so much to feel. You know, there is evil happening, there is suffering happening, there is so many shortcomings in this world now, and maybe even in our own lives and in our immediate work life, perhaps, whatever's going on. But Swami Paramananda gives very good guidance for this. And he said, instead of dwelling on the world's ills and shortcomings, and evils, because we actually give more energy to it the more we think about it. That the antidote is for us to raise our consciousness and think more of the divine background, because it is the divine that has the power to destroy the darkness of what we might call sin and sorrow. Sin being missing the mark, of people doing things that cause huge harm to others, that we see on the television every single day. Men, women, children are suffering needlessly, it seems. For what? And so by concentrating the light, by doing that beautiful proverb treatment, and that is to trust in the Lord, trust in the divine with all our heart. Don't try to understand why this is happening. Let's take the war in Ukraine, for example. We don't have to understand all the ins and outs of every little detail. In all our ways, acknowledge Him. We put His presence in the middle of this terrible situation. We bring the whole power of visualizing light, divine, invincible light, and wisdom, and divine love. And we do that as often in the day as we need to do it. And the fourth part of that is then God will tell us what we need to do if there's something we can do. If there's anything we can do to help or ameliorate a situation, and we feel this keenly, we should do what we can. But the thing that we can all do is become that channel for focusing the light on the situation, whatever it is. Whether it's something personal in our own lives that seems insurmountable, or is something that is happening in our lives, like the illness of a loved one, or a scary diagnosis for ourselves, or a situation happening anywhere in the world. We can do something. And then we can study. Studying. This means nourishing our minds with what is uplifting. We need to feed our minds. We need to be careful what is in our consciousness. Do we give our mind a diet of things that cause us fear, so that that's amplified? Or do we give our minds something else, something that is comforting, that lifts us to a different consciousness, to a higher consciousness? It's like turning the dial on a radio. We can listen to lowest common denominator, or we can raise our consciousness to something that makes us feel better, that makes us our minds on a different level, because it is the change in consciousness that is all powerful. In the Hebrew Bible, one of the great teachings is, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. We don't make any changes when we're groveling on the same level as the problem. We don't make any changes when we just cry and suffer and carry on, thinking this is going to ameliorate the problem in the Ukraine. Oh, I feel so badly. Oh, woe is me. I feel awful. Yes, I feel awful. However, the change comes when I change my consciousness and lift it. When I do something, when I go to that mountain in consciousness Maybe it helps to go to the real mountain, to get outside and see something, be with nature, and raise that consciousness. And in raising that consciousness, we release something into the world. We are a channel for releasing that which destroys the darkness of evil. That's why it's so important that we recognize that we have that relationship with the divine, that we have to evolve ourselves. We have to evolve our own inner life. And then the other simple thing is the way we live our life. We've made our connections. We are so careful about having the right water and the right food and all of that business. So we want to be as careful about what we're putting into our consciousness. And then to see life as service. That everything we do is serving the divine. That we're just here to serve the divine. For a long time, our ego self, Brahman is everything, we know that on an intellectual level. But we have this separated self, which we call the ego. In Sanskrit, it's called the jiva, J-I-V-A. Our soul, the soul of each of us is God, the divine, the one. Your soul and my soul are already one. But there is this other part of ourselves that is the pilgrim self, in a way. We're going through all of these experiences to learn very certain lessons, very specific lessons, to release us from the bondages that keep us in the wheel of suffering. So each experience that comes our way is in fact a teacher, if we can extract the lesson. And if we can't see the lesson because we're plunged in the pain of it, or the confusion of it, we ask the divine simply, well, I wish you'd make the lesson a little more obvious. Make it clear to me what I'm supposed to learn in this. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to be learning here? Because I want to learn. So this jiva, this ego self of ours, is our ruler, really. We follow we think we're captain of our own ship. And we've acted that way and believed that for many lifetimes. And when we wake up spiritually, we realize, I'm really not the captain of my ship anymore. There are just too many evidences of the fact that there's some underlying thing happening in my life that takes me forward. Somehow I'm progressing. Somehow, whether I want to or I don't want to, whether I'm going kicking and screaming or I'm going willingly, I am learning, I am growing, I am evolving on various levels. And at a certain point, we want to start doing that consciously. We want to partner with this. We want to cooperate with this. So the idea is not to kill the ego. It can't be killed. We don't want to kill it. But at a certain point, we want to say, to the divine, you're really the boss of this. You really are the one that's in control of everything. Certainly my life. Seems you're in charge of the universe too. So this little unit that I call myself, I will put my ego as, I don't like to use the word, but as a servant of the divine. Let me serve. And let me serve selflessly in the sense that I'm not looking, the only reward I'm looking for is to be closer to you, Lord. To be able to know what you want me to do at any particular moment. How can I serve? We don't know how we're being used as chess pieces. It's not just one-dimensional chess, it's infinitely dimensional chess. We're all moved from here to there to the other place in order to help the plan move forward. And once we're able to let go and go with this flow, things begin to really unfold for us. We begin to feel true joy. And the thing that keeps us from this feeling of separation from God, you know, our whole spiritual life is, I feel so separated from God. Does he really exist? You know, what's it all about, Alfie? Why do we feel separated from one another? It's called Maya in Vedanta, in Sanskrit. It's an illusion. It's just an illusion. We're never separated from the divine. We're really never separated from one another or all living beings. But it certainly seems like we are. And when we meditate and when we try to turn our lives over to this higher power completely, in full trust that, you know, all will be well and all manner of things shall be well. And I'm not going to focus on the negative so much anymore. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to trust that there's an underlying plan, and that the message of Dipali, the festival of light, is that light always overcomes darkness. Goodness always overcomes evil. That is a spiritual law. So what seems so out of kilter now, or when our life seems out of kilter and things seem difficult, truth will always prevail, goodness will always prevail, light will always prevail, love will always conquer. So we have to remind ourselves of that. So once we've evolved our inner life, that is this relationship with the divine that only we can do it. No one can do it for us. No one takes a little wand and, you know, puts it on our head and all of a sudden we have it. It develops over time, by degrees. And once we have it, we carry it with us wherever we go. We carry it with us all the time. It's portable. We can tuck it in with us and travel, and we're not, you know, having to pay extra on the airline. It's ours. And we have it when we wake up in the morning, and we have it when we are working, and we have it when we are playing, and we have it when we are doing the dishes, and we have it when we go to sleep, and we have it when we are unconscious. Isn't that a weird thing that happens to us? That we become paralyzed and unconscious every night in sleep? That is really weird. It's like something from the Stepford Files or something like that. But we have it even then because our consciousness is united with the divine during that time. But our consciousness is always united with the divine. So the lesson we learn is that there's no line between our so-called worldly life and our spiritual life. We learn that the reason we've been given life, the one reason we've been given life is to express the divine in every single thing that we do, in every smallest thing that we do, in every action. That we manifest our chosen ideal. So the way is open before us, actually. The way of the world and the way of the divine. And it is our effort, our choice to choose to have God consciousness that makes these two paths one. So, one day at a time, born in the morning, going to sleep at night, offering the fruits of the day to the divine. Make ourselves available to the divine. Be receptive to the divine blessings throughout the day. Be receptive to whatever lessons may come our way during the day. Being comfortable and familiar with the divine to say anything we want to say. to complain, to swear, to express our love and gratitude when we feel it, to say thank you for the grace of feeling your presence, whether inside me when I feel it or outside when I look up at the stars, or I see a beautiful dawn or a beautiful sunset or a beautiful flower or a beautiful deer in the field or something like that, or a hummingbird. And to know that every single thing I'm doing for you, for the divine. And if it helps you, and I think of this often, is when I do it with clarity like that, with a purity that's sort of separated from anything that I want from my separated self, I want to offer it for the benefit of all living beings. So to be able to live for the benefit and the upliftment of all living beings gives great purpose to a life that we feel is very small and very maybe unpowerful. But we have no idea of the tremendous power that we have. We have so much influence in this world to make a difference. And remember that there's so many more people, so many more souls in this world who are along the same path that we are. People of goodwill, people whose hearts are good, people who are troubled by what is happening around them and want to make a difference. So we're part of a great, great body that we're unified with. Christ expressed it as our brothers and sisters, as our neighbors. But all traditions have that same tradition. We are one united family. So let us rejoice and be glad and feel joy and be more cheerful and laugh as often as we can. Children laugh all the time. As adults, we get more and more serious and solemn, and life is earnest and life is tough. And yes, it is. We have more responsibility and we're more aware of things than children are. But we're surrounded by tremendous blessings. We're surrounded by the fact that we actually eventually know that whenever we turn within, whenever we turn our gaze inside, that we can feel a quiet presence right here. And spiritually, that's called the heart, right here. And that never goes away. And that it's always responsive to us. It always answers what we need at that particular moment. So be of good cheer. And as Julian of Norwich said, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Amen. Swaha.
whistling in each tree, and my heart is singing.
Oh my Lord, all I want is you. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. Oh my Lord, all I want is you.
You are in the mountains, laughing in each brook. You are peeping at me everywhere I look, and my soul is singing.
Oh my Lord, all I want is you. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. Oh my Lord, all I want is you.
I can feel your presence where each pathway ends. I can see you smiling through the eyes of friends, and my soul keeps singing.
Oh my Lord, all I want is you. 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 Oh my Lord, all I want is you.
All I want is you.
Just want to tell you one little story, and that is that in terms of consciousness, I discovered for myself that plants have consciousness and can learn. We have a stump of a cedar tree, and the Virginia creeper beautifully covers it. But in the center, I placed a pot of a firecracker plant because the hummingbirds like that plant. So you know how Virginia creeper creeps, and that is it has these tendrils, and these tendrils surround like a wire, and they just strangle whatever plant that they latch onto. And when they come up, if you watch Richard Attenborough's wonderful program that was a 3 or 4 part series on the life of plants, you know, these tendrils wave around until they find something that they can latch onto, and then they literally strangle the plant that they've latched onto. So I wasn't about to have my firecracker plant strangled by anybody. So every time a leaf from this Virginia creeper touched the outside of the plant, I cut it off about 5 inches. Anytime, but it had to touch, not just come near, it had to touch. Those were the boundaries. When the tendrils started waving around and coming over to my plant and started to infiltrate and a little bit catch on, I took that little member and went, okay? So I did that. I watched carefully for about 2 weeks doing that. At the end of 2 weeks, they had learned. Now, I wasn't horrible about it or monster or anything like that. I smiled and said, no, you have all the rest of the space. This plant is off limits. So, to show me that they could be trusted, I went out one day, and one of those tendrils was this close to the plant. Just as high as the top of the plant, right there. It could so easily have just gone like that, but it didn't. And so I knew it could be trusted, because it wasn't going to do what it wasn't supposed to do. Never again did any of them get close to it. They all go in a different direction, and I I don't have to watch it every day, but I do just to make sure. So plants learn. It's so amazing. And it only took 2 weeks to train it to its new way of being. So plants are conscious. But everything has some degree of consciousness. That's the fun of this life, right? Much more fun than Disneyland. So next Sunday, Swami Deva Bhaktananda will be conducting the service at 11. And this Thursday, the Reverend Susan Sullivan, Supriti, will conduct the Thursday evening meditation and class at 7 o'clock on the Bhagavad Gita. And then everything goes crazy now with our schedule, so listen up. We're having Durga Puja, which is the annual festival of the Divine Mother. God, we know as Father in the Judeo-Christian tradition, in the Hindu tradition, many consider God as Mother. So this is her big time. God as Mother. And for us, it's like a retreat within the community. So our schedules will be different. There's going to be one Sunday with no service and 2 Thursday nights with no class. But there will be, on the Tuesday of Durga Puja, a service here in the temple at 5 o'clock for everyone, and there will be a boon ceremony. And that is, the Divine Mother will be here for 4 days on the altar. This whole temple will be transformed into a shrine. And you may bring, if you would like to, a beautiful, perfect flower and leaf. If you don't have one, we will have some for you. And you offer it to the Divine Mother and ask any boon that you want to, for yourself, for your loved ones, friends, family, for the world. And then you yourself offer it to the Divine Mother. It's an opportunity to just make concrete your offering to the Lord and in thanksgiving for this boon. So because she's the Divine Mother of the universe, she can handle boons. So here's the schedule. There will be no Sunday morning service on October 2nd, and you can look at this on our website. There will be no Thursday classes on September 29th and October 6th. So in other words, what's happening is that the Thursday before, we're preparing for Durga Puja. For us, Durga Puja begins on Sunday, so there will be no regular service. And after Durga Puja, we will be exhausted, so there will be no service after that. So, but you will be invited to come within that period, and that will be on Tuesday, October 4th. I thought it was Tuesday night we're doing it.
Right?
No, because we weren't going to do it on Vijaya.
All right. Okay.
Shall we discuss this now? Everybody take a vote. Who wants it on Tuesday? Kathakali, what do you think is the best night to do it? Wednesday? On Vijaya? Okay. See, be flexible. This is what we need to learn. All right, so delete. It will be Wednesday evening at 5 o'clock, because that's when we normally have our Vesper service, our evening service. So it will be 5 o'clock Wednesday, October 5th at 5. And this will be on our website. It'll be written. I will change the announcements that are on the window over there, and we'll change the announcement, So does everyone understand the boon ceremony? If you'd like to come and do that, it's very nice. Our regular services, back to normal for everybody, will be October 9th, Sunday, October 9th. And the Reverend Susan Sullivan, Supriti, will be conducting that service at 11 o'clock. And then today, refreshments will be served outside on this beautiful day. So isn't it nice to be flexible? We decide things right in the moment. That's really nice. Big things, right in the moment. Got to be able to listen to that divine and go whichever way that he decides. He's the boss of Durga Puja, even if he's going to have to be a woman that time. Now, And here is the daily thought for today. You cannot be devoted, heart and soul devoted, and not lose that selfish part of yourself. Bereft of that selfish part of myself, bereft of having to think all the time, except that you are all in all, that I am wholly yours, and all in you contained. I am lost in you, and lost is all but you. We cannot think of two opposite things at the same time. We cannot think of God and at the same time keep our minds on our little selves. Being devoted and wholehearted in service to our ideal, we realize the essence of all ideals. As we gain more and more understanding, the unfoldment of our higher nature takes place of itself. Then trust and surrender will come naturally to us, and there will arise in us a sense of peace and quietude. All-abiding Spirit of the universe, dwelling within me, make me a ready instrument in your hand. Free me from all egotistic sense. And teach me to be wholly dependent on your will. May I forget all selfishness and limitation. And partake fully in your divinity. May God the Absolute, one without a second, the one in whom we live and move and have our being, the one God who is called by many names, Christ of the Christians, Allah of the Muslims, Hashem of the Jewish people, Ahura Mazda of the Zoroastrians, Buddha of the Buddhists, Shangdi of the Chinese, the Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Brahman, the Divine Mother, the infinite and all-abiding Spirit of the Hindus. May you, who are our Father, Mother, Friend, Beloved, Protector, Companion, and Guide, grant unto us all peace and blessing. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and unto all living beings.